In the span of a console's life, there are always going to be games that slip past you. Sometimes a lot of people miss out on them, and that's how certain titles fall into obscurity. And with a retro console like the Nintendo Gamecube, wait, is Gamecube really a retro console now? Oh my god, the passage of time is cruel and oppressive. Anyway, when you're talking about a system like this, some of those obscure titles become rare games, which often results in an expensive game. But just because a game is rare doesn't necessarily mean it's worth that money. So today I want to look at some of the priciest GameCube games on the market and figure out whether they're actually any good or just pricey collectibles. Couple of quick ground rules. First, I'm not going to get into any hardware, game variants, or bundles. Stuff like Pokémon Box, for example, is super expensive, but it's not really a game. And second, I'm going to skip some of the more obvious expensive titles, like Pokemon XD and Fire Emblem Path of Radiance are pricey, but that's not exactly surprising. Pokemon and Fire Emblem have always been in strong demand, and they're both considered to be pretty damn good games, so I wouldn't really be adding anything there. What I'm looking at are the stranger or more surprising entries, games you might not expect to be selling for hundreds of dollars. But before we jump in, I want to talk about the morality of making a video like this. Whenever people highlight rare or expensive games, it tends to drive those prices even higher. And this is of course a hobby that's already had more than enough artificial inflation. So I want to be crystal clear. I'm not saying you need to go out and buy any of these games. In fact, I'd actually strongly recommend you don't. Most of these games go well beyond what I'd consider to be a reasonable price to pay for a video game. But at the end of the day, it's really up to you to decide what you're willing to pay. Just don't let FOMO, nostalgia, or a manufactured scarcity influence your decision making. So with all that said, let's dive right into it. Alright, let's kick things off with Ribbit King. We're starting pretty weird. It'll get a lot weirder later on the list, but this will be good for easing us in. Released in 2004 in North America, this game has all the trappings of a cute little platformer. Can't you imagine this little guy, his name's Scooter by the way, just jumping around beating enemies? Well, you'd be an absolute idiot because this is a sports game.
We're playing Frolf, aren't we? Oh, that's right.
It's about Frolf, which is, of course, frog golf. It's exactly what it sounds like. Instead of a golf ball, you use a frog. It's actually a sequel to a Japanese-only PlayStation game, Ribbit King, which was also about Frolf and much more affordable, apparently. So, in this game, Scooter is tasked with saving his home planet by competing in a Frolf tournament. I guess it's a tournament. I mean, I don't know, I love a tournament arc, very cool. Obviously, the gameplay loop is built around the Frolf matches. These are one-on-one bouts where Scooter goes up against other fun-looking little guys, and the referee in these matches is like a real freak.
Yoo-hoo! All aboard the FUV! Hurry up, let's go!
Should we go? Forget it! Come on! He's a weirdo!
At least I'm not a picnic basket.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't know why you had to be so zesty, but sure, pop off, King. He ain't the Ribbit King, though. That's Scooter. Or maybe it's this guy. I don't know, I didn't beat the game. So the game actually isn't super complicated, even though it looks really weird. And it is, it's weird as f, but the Frolf itself is simple. There's like 2 buttons, but my god, these games can turn into an absolute nightmare. It's just a slapstick mash of things happening after you press that button. Especially, it seems, if you're playing against me. I mean, look at this goddamn run the little panda guy went on. This panda will still somehow win. Watch this. Watch how Panda wins this. Oh, there you go, some extra, there you go. You needed a few more yeah, there you go, Panda. Look at this. What is going on? Are you joking? Ooh. Okay, all right, he hit a tree. All right. His turn's still going. Yeah, the fun ran out pretty quick on this one. I can see why this didn't exactly blow up. Here in North America, the game actually came bundled with a bonus disc called, appropriately, Ribbit King Plus. It includes a bunch of little shorts starring Scooter and his pals. I'm not sure if the idea was to turn this into a cartoon franchise or something, but I imagine that does probably factor into the price in some degree.
Now raise your little finger and bite it like so. Shake it, but don't break it.
I'm not gonna do that.
Ribbit King Plus.
So is it worth $150? No. Is it good?
Hooray!
Yeah, not really. So I actually probably have the least to say about Chibi-Robo, not because it's bad or uninteresting, the opposite actually. It's probably the best and most talked about game on this list. People like this game, and it's fun, of course they do. Chibi-Robo came out in 2006 in North America during the last stretch of the Gamecube's life. They were actually having trouble getting it made for years until it came across Shigeru Miyamoto's desk personally. He fell in love with the character, and his support plus Nintendo's publishing finally helped get the game made. You play as the titular Chibi-Robo, a tiny housekeeping robot tasked with helping a dysfunctional family. Gameplay involves cleaning, solving little household puzzles, and gradually uncovering the story of the Sandersons. Getting to know these characters, helping them with their little personal dramas, and seeing how the family slowly changes because of your efforts is the heart of this game. Why's she clapping? It's her birthday. It's wholesome, charming, and feels very human. Chibi-Robo was a palatable kind of weird. Its humor, characters, and warmth made it appealing to Western audiences in a way that felt accessible, not alienating. It was unusual, but never too strange to enjoy. When it was released, critics didn't really know what to make of it, often praising the creativity and charm while criticizing the repetitive chores. It also didn't really sell all that well, and at the time it looked like yet another Nintendo experiment that just wasn't going to stick. But fans who did play it saw something special. The combination of heartfelt writing, quirky characters, and that Nintendo polish gave it a staying power that critics undersold. Over the years, that affection grew, especially as word of mouth spread online. Nintendo clearly believed in the concept because they gave Chibi-Robo several more opportunities after the GameCube debut. There were multiple handheld entries on the DS and 3DS, but none of those really stuck either. Today, Chibi-Robo is remembered fondly as one of the GameCube's most unique gems. Nintendo was even aware of that lasting appeal. They included it in the Switch 2's GameCube Classics lineup, which is good news because you can go play that and not have to worry about dropping $200 just to play this game. Next up is Gotcha Force, a Capcom game from 2003. You may have noticed that we've also doubled in value here compared to Chibi-Robo, and that's not even the biggest leap we're going to make on this list. Wait until you see number 1. This one's probably the least strange game on the list though, and it's another bona fide cult classic at this point. Gotcha Force tapped into a pretty big early 2000s trend of collectible and customizable battlers, things like Metabots, Zoids, and Custom Robo. The latter, of course, a GameCube cult classic in its own right, maybe a video for another day. The premise was always similar: collect cool little creatures, bots, or toys, and then send them out to fight in stylized combat. In Gotcha Force, you play as a GF commander, choosing from hundreds of tiny toy-like robots called Gotchaborgs. You assemble a team, send them into battle, and then control them directly in fast, arena-style fights. The combat itself feels a lot like some Gundam games. Your Borgs can dash around, attack up close, or fire projectiles from a distance. Different Borgs have unique stats, movesets, and specialties, so building your squad becomes part of the fun. The customization aspect is where it starts to feel more like Pokémon, balancing which Borgs to bring, trying out synergies, and experimenting with your roster. Well, it's fun. It's just a fun game. But, I mean, it's also as simple as it sounds, and this is a complaint reviewers at the time also shared. The combat doesn't really evolve too much mechanically as the game goes on. What you see in the first couple hours is largely what you're going to get for the rest of the campaign. But I get why Gotcha Force has gained cult status. This is one of those games you'd play as a kid and then randomly remember years later, saying, man, that game was awesome. But if you're like me and had never even heard of it back in the day, well, blame Capcom. They did almost nothing to market this game. Despite having a goldmine elevator pitch of Pokémon meets Gundam, it basically flew under the radar. And without word of mouth, most people didn't even know it existed. Fast forward 20 years later, and well, now there's plenty of word of mouth, but all that gives us now is a $400 GameCube game. Now, I'm obviously hard-pressed to say that this game is worth that massive asking price. That's so much money. But I can confidently say that this is among those games that are expensive because people actually want to play it and not just own it. So, good for you, Gotcha Force.
All right, we're awesome!
You know those Tony Hawk Pro Skater games? You know how they're fun and everything? Now imagine those games, but instead, they're bad. Well, then you'd have the later Tony Hawk games. Now imagine it wasn't just bad, but also had crude and juvenile animation. Yeah, well, that's Go-Go Hypergrind. We're back to weird sports. Oh, and an Atlas sticker. Let's talk about them for a second. Atlas is the company that's primarily famous for the Shin Megami Tensei series and its spin-off series Persona. But also, during this era especially, Atlas had a publishing arm that was constantly bringing over niche stuff to North America that otherwise wouldn't have gotten a Western release. However, these releases were also pretty limited. It's why most of the time an Atlas sticker on a retro game means you're probably going to pay a little more for it. And to be fair, it also usually means it's probably worth playing. But as we're seeing firsthand, not every time. Like I mentioned before, this game was a collaboration with Spoon Co., the animation studio behind the Ren and Stimpy show. Also, the creator of Ren and Stimpy, John Kay, who did work on this game by the way, is, well, yeah, it's never good to see this on a Wikipedia article. This is actually the third game Spoon Co. has worked on after 2 voice acting video games that are exclusive to Japan.
Excellent.
What? Why? Anyway, the game actually makes this very meta. The skaters in the game are competing to be the next star of a new cartoon.
In this upcoming cartoon, you'll definitely need both pizzazz and style. Get
It's
ready.
kind of clever, and the game incorporates all the slapstick cartoon tropes into the gameplay. But the gameplay just isn't great. It's really hard to describe without putting a controller in your hands, but it's just very floaty and there's like a delay to your tricks. It's especially jarring after playing the new Tony Hawk remakes, which have both been excellent. I guess if you're a huge Spoon Co. fan, I could see maybe wanting it for that reason, but for $450, there's so many better games you could play. I mean, that's like 3 copies of Mario Galaxy. Okay, so now we're at peak weirdness. Cubivore is a game truly so strange that it almost leaves me speechless trying to explain it. Don't get me wrong, it's weird on paper too, but it's just so much weirder than you're probably thinking. You play as a little cube, monster, guy, and he eats other little cube monster guys to grow and become more evolved. And you kind of just do that over and over while flopping around. You also get to mate, which is cool. Not a ton of games out here with mechanics, so it's nice to see. I'm sure if I looked hard enough into the game, I'd find some sort of deeper meaning, but who has the time? Even the IGN pull quote on the box just calls the game bizarre. Like, that's the best thing you can say about it, and they put that on the box. It's also just so ugly to look at. What the is this? Actually, like, what am I looking at? I mean, it feels pretty intentional, but that doesn't absolve you of giving me a game that is this visually unappealing. The game was initially developed back on the N64 for the 64DD add-on, which itself was also a whopping failure, so they eventually moved development to the Gamecube. And from what I can gather, they did nothing to the game to really benefit much from that generation leap. When the game finally dropped in 2002, Nintendo didn't even plan to release it in North America. Which was pretty astute of them. They knew that Westerners weren't on board for this level of weirdness, and history kind of proved them right, I guess. But then our old friends over at Atlas, remember them, came along and said, no, Americans need this game, and they handled publishing in the West. That Atlas sticker does help explain the nearly $500 price tag though. It was a game with a very low print run that also no one really played, so most people aren't just stumbling upon copies in the wild. So now it just sits in collections, so you can pull it out and say, check out this weird game no one liked. This to me might be the biggest cost versus value deficit on this entire list. I don't even know that I'd pay $20 for this game. I don't see any justifiable reason a person would pay hundreds for it. Unless your goal is to own every GameCube game hell or high water, I just don't see this being a necessary staple in anyone's collection. Yes, finally we have reached the craziest of them all. No, that is not a typo. Yes, Disney Sports Basketball sells for $1,000. That's $1,000. and 3 zeros. $1,000. I can't even fully wrap my $1,000. Is it any good? Who cares? It's $1,000. What are you gonna do? Buy it? Are you crazy? Okay, we should probably talk about it. $1,000. Oh my god, I can't get it. No. All right, let's just get into it. Disney Sports Basketball was released in 2003 by Konami, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You ever wanted to see Goofy drain a 3? Yeah, well, here you go. It's got the expected crew here, Mickey, Donald, Goofy, you know the pals. But it's also got a couple of wild cards I like to see, like Mortimer Mouse, the dark, sexy, bad boy version of Mickey, and Max Goof, Goofy's son. Now, Max Goof is obviously a demon on the offense, and on defense, Wait, what are you doing, Max? The game itself is about as bare bones as you can imagine. What you actually get is a simple arcade-style basketball game. Each character captains their own team of 3, with the other 2 characters being just whoever the hell these people are. $1,000 for this game, Jesus Christ. I think there's an unlockable all-star mode that puts multiple Disney characters on teams together. I don't know. I wasn't trying to spend that kind of time on this. Either way, it really doesn't matter. The characters have stats, but they all kind of just feel the same. Like, Huey, Dewey, and Louie dunk with the same ease and consistency as the 7-foot-tall Mortimer Mouse, which, to be fair, hilarious, but doesn't really make me feel like competitive play was in mind here. Each character has a super dunk. That's a place where the Disney charm does kind of shine through, but otherwise it's pretty lacking. This is, by all accounts, a just fine arcade basketball game with Mickey Mouse on the cover. It is absolutely crazy that this game is so expensive. I initially thought that it was the Disney name doing a lot of that heavy lifting on the value, but this game was actually part of a larger Disney sports series Konami put out in the early 2000s. For whatever reason, basketball is the only one of those that became expensive and sought after to this degree. Honestly, it might be worth looking at all those games on a deeper level. I don't know, maybe next time. So, all that to say, no, this game is obviously not worth $1,000. If I knew someone in real life who was planning to buy this game for $1,000, I would genuinely throw them an intervention. If you own this game or have played it, what do you think? Do you feel like it was worth 4 figures to you? At the end of the day, secondhand pricing shouldn't determine whether a game is worth your time. You should really make those decisions based on your own experiences and wants. And if what you really want to do is just play these games, remember there are plenty of ways to do that without dropping hundreds of dollars. Sometimes that's a digital re-release or a remaster, but if the publishers aren't going to make it easy to play their old games, then it's up to players and preservationists to make sure these titles aren't lost to time. I will once again proudly say that HDF is pro emulation. But if you're someone who really loves collecting and physical media, that's valid too. Just make sure you're collecting for the right reasons. Don't put yourself in a financial bind just to say you own a copy of Cubivore. A hobby is meant to make you happy, not put you into debt. Oh, and one more thing. No matter what you decide to do, don't grade your games. Seriously, that's a total scam. Nobody cares about your graded copy. Just put it on the shelf.